All right, everybody, let's take a little bit of a break from talking about Seahawks stuff and discuss the NFL as a whole for a little bit here because there's some interesting stuff happening outside the lens of the Seahawks. Most notably, I would say, in the MVP race. After last night's game, Ravens Niners, I think that the MVP race has clearly shifted in one direction, and it's going to take a surprising and maybe even extreme result for it to shift any other way. But I want to talk about this because this is one of the most compelling MVP races in recent memory in the sense of we don't really know who's going to win. A lot of MVP races in the NFL, usually we go into it thinking, okay, we know who's going to win. We have a pretty good idea. There's one guy who's clearly separated himself. There's one guy who is clearly getting love from the narrative. That's not really happening this year. And we've seen like five or six different people cycle through the MVP in clubhouse leader throughout this season. Early in the season, it was probably Tua because the Dolphins' offense was incredibly good, just completely unstoppable. Tua and Tyreek. And then there was a little bit of a drop off there, and maybe people started looking at Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. And then the Niners lost 3 games in a row, and people backed off. Or at the very least, they backed off of Purdy a little bit because CMC missed those games. And then there was Lamar Jackson stuff. Then you had some a little bit, not a lot, but there was a little bit of Josh Allen in there, Jalen Hurts. So it's gone through cycles this year, and I feel like you usually don't see it cycle through to this degree. I feel like you do see it move, of course, and sometimes an MVP favorite early in the season won't last. Like I think that if the 2020 NFL season ended after 5 games, Russell Wilson would have been the unanimous MVP. By the end of the season, he wasn't even a candidate. He didn't get a vote, and I don't even think he would have finished in a theoretical top 5 or top 6. And that happens sometimes, but it's kind of rare, I think, that you see it bounce back and forth between a bunch of different guys. So as of right now, the odds are as such. Lamar Jackson in the lead. He is the odds-on favorite. Lamar Jackson is more likely to win MVP than the entire field outside of Lamar Jackson as of right now. So everyone else is clearly trailing behind, but you've got Christian McCaffrey in second, Brock Purdy in third, Tua in fourth, Josh Allen in fifth, Dak in sixth. Wow, he fell. Tyreek in seventh, Jalen Hurts in eighth. As you can see, basically everybody here is a long shot except for the top three. Like Tua's plus 1,200 on DraftKings and plus 1,100 on FanDuel. So the only 3 guys here that have a real chance of actually getting this, according to the betting odds, would be Lamar, McCaffrey, and Brock Purdy. Um, so I want to ask my viewers, basically, I just want to see what you guys think. Who would you give MVP to this year? How do you think the league should do it? And I just kind of want to get a feeling for how you guys are feeling about this race because, unlike most years where you will have some seasons where, oh, it's very clearly Patrick Mahomes. Oh, it's very clearly Aaron Rodgers. It's very clearly Tom Brady. And there's not much of a debate there. We've had plenty of years like that. This is one of those years where there's a little bit of a debate. So, the way I see it personally, this would be a pretty good year to give the award to a player that is not a quarterback. Usually, the league is kind of forced to give NFL MVP to a quarterback because we all know that the quarterback is the most important position on the team by far. And it's really hard for a non quarterback to ever be actually the most valuable player because the change in the offense's abilities when they go from their starting quarterback to the backup quarterback is usually massive, especially with good quarterbacks. Whereas most offenses can go from even an elite running back or an elite receiver to somebody else and still be okay. Like we have seen the Niners offense still able to produce. Obviously there's a drop off, but they've been able to continue along in games where they haven't had Christian McCaffrey. We've seen the Dolphins able to get through in games without Tyreek Hill. But we rarely get a season like this where no quarterback is standing out. Dak was standing out for a while, but now he's had two forgettable games in a row, including both losses. The fact that they lost both those games and are probably going to get a wild card now is killer. The fact that you've now seen Brock Purdy lay a complete egg on Monday Night Football last night in a game that was probably supposed to be a showcase where people would be like, okay, Brock Purdy, prove to me that you're for real, and then he goes and does that. You can definitely see a lot of voters going, well, so much for that. And then you've got Tua obviously dropping off significantly from where he started. You got Josh Allen with all the turnovers. Like, the only quarterback that really stands in a firm MVP stature would, I don't know what the exact term would be, who has a really good MVP case right now seems to be Lamar Jackson. Maybe Tua. I think Tua has probably the second best case right now, but I mean, even Tua's obviously had some not so good games, and the Dolphins' offense has been sputtering a little bit lately, so that's not great. Lamar's the closest thing. Lamar has had some bad games. Lamar has had some bad moments, but he's done a pretty good job turning it on lately. His team is probably going to get the 1 seed. And I think you put those things together, you look at his numbers. Obviously, he doesn't have a lot of touchdown throws. There are some problems there. But his MVP race, I think, would hold up most seasons, right? Like, this had the potential to be a year where whoever won MVP would have a really weak MVP case. Like, if you put them in any other year, they wouldn't even be top 3 or top 4, maybe not even top 5. That's not happening this year with Lamar Jackson, so he kind of saved it a little bit, but it's not a great MVP case. It's not an elite MVP type season. He's had bad moments. He's cost the team some games with bad play at the worst possible time. And I still kind of feel like this would be a great year to just say, you know what, we're going to give it to a non-quarterback. We're going to give it to, I would say, Christian McCaffrey. I think he's probably been the most valuable player. When the Niners don't have Christian McCaffrey, they have been a much worse team. He is one of those guys who does actually have a big negative effect on the team when he's not in there. Granted, it's still not on the level of, like, let's say a team like the, I don't know, Chiefs went from Patrick Mahomes to their backup quarterback, whoever it is. That would probably be a lot bigger. But McCaffrey, you've seen, they can't just plug somebody in to replace him. It's not a smooth transition. It's still a noticeable drop off, and we saw them lose games without Christian McCaffrey that they otherwise almost certainly would have won, given the fact that they've done very little except win this season. So I think those are the two guys who are really serious contenders right now, Lamar and McCaffrey. And it's becoming pretty clear that Lamar's going to get it. But honestly, if I had a vote, I think I would say, you know what? This is going to be the year. I would normally never do this, but the quarterback resumes are just weak enough, and McCaffrey's having such an insane season with all the touchdowns, with the two-way play, and with all the stuff he's bringing to the table here, that I think I would just say, all right, McCaffrey is going to be my pick. But to me, it's between those two guys at this point. I would love to see a guy like Tyreek win it, but he missed a game, and it was a game late in the season. That's tough to overcome. And everybody else, I don't think really stacks up. So yeah, I just kind of want to know what you guys think. Who would you give the MVP award to? Would you give it to maybe one of the sleepers? Do you still think Purdy could win it after what happened this most recent week? I don't think I'm going to get very many Purdy defenders in my comments, but over because it's a Seahawks channel. But maybe you're seeing things a different way. Maybe there are still some Jalen Hurts guys out there, although realistically his MVP case kind of died. Like, I think his MVP case is pretty much dead at this point. Same for Dak Prescott because his team lost 2 games in a row, and it's hard to win MVP when you don't win the division, and it doesn't look like the Cowboys are going to do that. So I would go either Lamar Jackson or Christian McCaffrey, but I kind of want to give it to Christian McCaffrey, being just as unbiased as I can. Obviously, I don't want to see a 49ers player win it for very obvious reasons if you look at the name of this channel. But I feel like he is probably the most valuable player this year. And I think there's just enough holes in the other resumes for me to go forward with that. But it's close. It's close between those two guys. So at the end of the day, we didn't have a multi-way MVP race the way that it was looking, I don't think, because I don't think the other guys are super serious anymore. But two ways, not too bad. Let me know what you think down below. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Maybe another video coming later today. But if not, I'll see you guys on Twitch tonight. And I will see you guys tomorrow on YouTube.